Boom, what's up, Go-Getters family? If you're new here or you've been tuned in for a little while, you would know every Thanksgiving we try to feed as many people as humanly possible.
Doubling it every year until we can feed 1 million people nationwide. Year 1, we fed 100 people. Year 2, we fed 300 people and raised $3,500. Our goal this year is to feed 600 people and raise $6,500 for the people in Wilkes-Barre and the surrounding area.
Food prices have skyrocketed over 25% in the last 5 years. That's why 1.4 million Pennsylvanians, 400,000 of which are children, are struggling to put food on the table. This Thanksgiving, let's change that. Listen, we can't do this without you. Seriously, every single dollar counts. And even just sharing the link goes a very long way.
So go to our GoFundMe and donate whatever you can. $5, $10, $20, it all adds up.
Together, we can make this Thanksgiving special for the families that really need it. Don't forget to donate to the GoFundMe and please share it with your friends.
A little goes a long way, and with your help, we can make a big difference this Thanksgiving.
Let's go!
Boom! Yo, what's up, GG team? We're here in the beautiful Mainline Armory. We're here with our boy CMG, 23-year-old entrepreneur, investor, certified savage, Chase Gallagher.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the pod. Let's get it.
Again, thank you guys for coming. I love the intro, man. That makes me smile. I'm a blessed individual, as you guys know.
Yo, I love the energy, man. I love being around you. I'm grateful that we know you because you obviously do like a whole lot of really cool things and admirable things, but you know, you also been through a lot of stuff too, and the fact that you have the energy that you do is really inspiring, bro.
Yes, 100%, man. I'm just, again, a hardworking, blessed individual, and vice versa. I'm glad that you guys are here and we know each other and we're building a long-term relationship, so this is good.
Yeah, so what the hell have you been up to, man? I know at least for me on my end, it's probably been, we were looking into it yesterday. We did that podcast in like September of 23, right? So it was like well over a year ago the last time we did it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you since then, but I know he did. He was telling me a bit about you and what you've been up to, but I'd like to hear from you as well. What you've been up to, man?
I've just been working, building my empire, so to speak.
Yeah.
I've been traveling, living life, but just stacking and you know, really just business stuff, dude. Whether it's investing in real estate, investing in stocks, we were just talking about growing my business, starting a new business, whatever it is, man. I'm just 10 toes down doing it.
Do you have a philosophy for your stock investments? Because I think the last time we were talking, I don't even think you even mentioned stocks. Were you into stocks the last time we were having
Yes, sir.
podcast?
Yep.
So what's your like philosophy typically when it comes to trading online? Are you a day trader, swing trader? Like what do you do in terms of your stocks and investments, long term?
Yeah, most of my stuff, let's say 70, 80% of my portfolio is long-term investing. And then the other stuff would be considered swing trading. Most of my stock portfolio and crypto portfolio I have right now, I bought into when I was like 18 to 20. So I've had it for a couple years.
Yeah.
And it's been an interesting ride, definitely a learning lesson. At one point, I lost a lot of money.
Yep, likewise.
How much money are we talking?
So in 2021, this is a great story. In 2020, I had my kidney transplant.
Yeah.
And I was down in Florida in the winter months. It was the end of the year. It was December. I was looking at my stock portfolio. It was up to about 400K at the time, and I was like on top of this world. And so I came back up north for Christmas, and you get like, there's something called the wealth effect.
Yeah.
This can happen to a lot of people where it's on an account, it says 400K, and my crypto account said 70, 90, you know, it would kind of fluctuate. So I was like, damn, I got all this money plus XYZ. I'm going to go out and buy a Benz. And so I bought myself a Mercedes-Benz for Christmas.
Yeah.
And so I did that, came back down to Florida, dude, and right after the new year, the stock market took a massive hit. It's like that 400K went down to like, let's say 320 in the first 2 weeks, and then that whole portfolio eventually went down to like 198.
Damn. Wow. Yeah. So that's the thing with stocks. It's like when you're holding on to them, you might one day be in a really good position, a good enough position even to do something like that where you cop the Benz, but then you wake up the next day, stocks could be down 50%, however much it is, and then, you wake up with a whole new digit in that account. That's cool, though. Christmas came early for you, huh?
Yes, it did, man. So that was my learning lesson. So to speak on what you just said there, like you said, the stock market, at least my portfolio was extremely variable. It was a lot of EV, a lot of energy stocks. It took a hit, and I lost a lot of money, and that's something like, it's on your cell phone. I can check it. And so that created that year, 2022, created a lot of anxiety. And I remember going to bed every single night. I was watching this guy named Meet Kevin, who I watched for years, and get an update on the stock market. Hey, when am I going to get my fucking $250,000 back? Or, you know what I'm saying? And so and then that kind of adjusted and really went all into real estate because a piece of property, you buy it for something. It's not like a stock that adjusts every single day. It's very slow and steady and solid, if that makes any sense.
I want to remind people too, what was that kidney disease that you have or had? What is that called?
It's called C3G. The actual name, it's literally like 42 characters long. It's a rare kidney disease I was diagnosed in 2nd grade with. And I there's no cure. There's treatment, so to speak, which is essentially just a steroid they put you on that tries to nuke your kidney. But and then when I graduated high school, I was doing my business and everything, and my doctor, when I was 19 years old, all of a sudden, like I was in the nephrologist's office, he's like, yeah, your function's decreasing quite a bit, quite rapidly. You're going to need a kidney transplant. And that was like the first time you ever hearing that. So then when I was 20, I had my kidney transplant.
So what are the implications of that disease? Like, what are the symptoms?
Symptoms are, this is a great question. So it can kind of be similar to like having allergies, puffy face, especially your eyelids. And then when you take a leak, there can be like foaminess in your urine, and that's technically protein spilling. And so, and then, it gets worse if you don't treat it, where your whole body can swell up, your hands, your legs and feet. And so that's just the visual signs you can see to do it. So we saw that. I went into my doctors. Again, I was in 2nd grade, and essentially they were like, hey, it's probably allergies. Just close the windows and just do AC. And so this disease continued to do its thing until we were on a family vacation. My whole body swelled up, and my mom took me to like a children's emergency room, and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They ran all these studies, and that's when I was diagnosed with it.
Wow. And when you figured out that diagnosis, was there any adjustments that you had to make in terms of your diet, or did you notice that had any effect on your energy levels or hormones or anything like that in your life?
Yes. So in regards to the disease, diet-wise, you have to have a low-sodium diet. So when you eat sodium, it causes your blood pressure to increase, and when your blood pressure increases, more damage, the disease will do more damage to your kidney. So low sodium diet immediately. We added no salt to our food at home. When we went out to restaurants, we'd ask them to put no salt in it. And then as far as the side effects, it was, you would feel off. But really the major side effects come from the drug called prednisone, where, I changed into a completely different person. It caused a lot of issues mentally at a very young age. Just like a list of things. It causes you to eat a lot, and that's when I went from like being the fastest on my baseball team to like your ligaments start to decrease. So I broke both my kneecaps in gym class that year, and I ended up gaining all this weight and stuff like that.
So what I'm curious to know is, like, you kind of grew into your former self knowing that you had this disease, right?
You grew into your former, what do you mean by that?
Like, you understood that you had this disease in the 2nd grade, right?
So I did, but to be 100% honest with you, I did not know anything about it. It was literally my mom leading the pack, where she would take me to all these doctor's appointments. All I was really focused on is I knew how I felt and how I was gaining weight, and I hated getting the blood work done and the drugs I was taking. But I did not know nearly everything I know now. I learned about my disease when I was like 17 to 19, like the actual how it works and stuff like that.
So I'm curious, like, how was your mindset when you became conscious of this, I guess you could say, disadvantage in your life? Like, how did you think about this in your mind at the time?
Yeah, a lot of times, I was always asking, like, why me? Like, in my head, I would say, well, why do I have this disease? My brother did not have this disease. And I guess, when I'm saying why me, I'm talking to God. Why did I have to be dealt this? That was like my main thoughts.
And so then how did that shift into this more positive, energetic attitude that you currently carry today? Because it seems like you wouldn't have been able to do what you're currently doing if you kept that negative attitude in your mind, right?
Right, that victim mentality.
Yeah.
So fast forwarding, when I had my kidney transplant, it got even worse. That mentality, I would sit there and like cry, like, why me? And I was, you get sicker and sicker by the day. So you go through the tough days which was having that kidney transplant, and coming out of that 3-4 month mark post transplant, you're starting to feel like 10, 20, 100x better. It's so hard to explain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow, like God put me through this. It's actually a blessing, because now Chase Gallagher has an experience that, like, for instance, you guys obviously did not have kidney transplants. So I have like a certain mentality. Maybe that's where this obviously this energy is coming from. I'm like, holy shit, I'm on my second life, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Where it clicks, and that's why I wake up. I always say I'm blessed. I work my dick off, obviously, and like that's just what I do, man. I'm out here trying to make it happen.
How are you when it comes to like risk management now? Like, does certain shit with your life still scare you? Like, do roller coasters bother you, or any close calls with like your life? Does that bother you, or are you more kind of just willing to throw yourself out the wild shit life has now?
I do think like certain roller coasters I just won't get on, because if you put again, my kidney's right here.
Yeah.
So coming out of the hospital, I remember like even being in public scenes like bars and stuff, I was really protective. Now I'm a little less like that, but and then certain things in life I just won't do. You can't have certain fruits, you can't have certain drinks. So I'm a lot more aware. If I see a sick person, man, I say no disrespect, but I want to get the fuck away from them.
Yeah. So does it still affect you in any way to this day? I know you were just saying about like certain foods and stuff, but outside of that, is there anything that still troubles you to this day?
There's quite a bit. Obviously, it's nothing like what I've been through.
Yeah.
But I mean, you go through medications, trying to get these medications, getting approved for these medications through your healthcare, and shout out to my mom. I mean, she does a lot of that.
Yeah.
Paying for your healthcare, and then you have, being a kidney transplant person, being out in the world, you get infections. You got to go back into the hospital. You have appointments on top of appointments. What happens is I might have a kidney disease, but post transplant I have hypertension, which is like high blood pressure / like a heart thing. So you go to that doctor, and then you have XYZ issues. So now you don't have one appointment, you have 8. And so like every month I probably have between like 5 to 10 appointments at least. So quite a bit of stuff.
And is there ever a reality in which you do completely beat that, or is that just the card you're dealt now?
That's the card I'm dealt right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a positive thinker.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to come into our world, and like a new piece of technology where maybe I don't have to have another kidney transplant. Maybe there is something, an injection or something where I don't have to take a handful of pills every day, like in the morning and night, or have the side effects of the drug, all this stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm really just asking to understand, because that's like a reality of the world that I truthfully haven't ever had to put my mind there too much. I was dealt a good set of cards in that world where I was pretty healthy virtually my whole life.
Right.
Outside of being a chunky boy for a little bit there. But besides that, I mean, I was pretty good when it came to my health.
It's interesting how like you can be dealt a bad card in your life, and it can come with like a lot of like annoying aspects, but at the end of the day, it can help you to really shape like a much stronger attitude and a much stronger approach to life. I think it helps you to really have like a lot more perhaps acceptance, but also gratitude for what it is that you do have as well.
Yeah.
Exactly, brother. I love how you guys put in great words. And that's exactly it, man. Like when I was in the hospital post-transplant, I had the toughest times of my life, and that's why I really do thank God for my breath, my words, and my steps. That's all I need to be like truly a happy individual. Yes, we talk about jets and watches and restaurants and all this shit. Like, I'm gonna enjoy my life, but at the core of me, since my transplant, that's all I needed was just, if I can have those 3 things, man, I'm a blessed individual.
Yeah, like sometimes like people are completely healthy, they have all the things that they need, but because they were never like given that type of setback, they may not appreciate what it is that they truly have, like the air that they breathe, the functioning organs and the cognitive abilities that they have, or the way that their body can fully operate and function. And so it's like you don't have anything negative to compare it to be like, man, I'm blessed.
Think about like when you're actually sick, like, like when you're sick or you have a cold or a stomach flu, like you ask anybody that just has a traditional sickness, what do they want? It's to be healthy. They just want to be healthy and cool and feel good. You can go around the table, ask any of us right now what you want. It might be a PJ, a burger from wherever, a Lamborghini. It could be anything. Like when we're all healthy, you can come up with anything in the world that you want. But when you're sick, that's the only thing you want is your health back. I'd feel that.
100%. That's all I would sit there in the hospital and think, and certain things are out of your control. So you just gotta take the cards you're dealt and keep pushing every single day.
Yeah, it helps you to build a really good philosophy on life. But Another thing I wanted to get into is you just copped the Cybertruck, bro. When I saw that, I was like, man, that's crazy. What made you decide to make that purchase?
So that purchase I actually ordered 6 years ago.
Wow, really? That long ago?
Yes.
Did you have to put money down at that time?
Yes.
So you got on that wait list real early.
Exactly.
Nice.
So I'm sure you guys remember when the whole thing was designed and like Tesla did this whole marketing thing, and I kept seeing on these people's like social media, oh, they just pre-ordered. So I looked into that. I'm like, all right, it's a fully electric. My thinking process back then was, all right, it's self-driving, so I can go from estimate to estimate and let it drive itself and type up the previous estimate. So I was thinking like, all right, if a driver costs me 85 grand a year, a Cybertruck's like gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like having your own driver. That was my thinking process back then. And back then I was literally an 18-year-old wrapping up high school. I was on my lawnmower. I was doing like an 18-yard mulch job by myself in a fall cleanup, and I was sitting on my little Toro 42-inch zero-turn, pre-ordered my Tesla at the time.
That's
man.
crazy.
Yeah.
You could have just bought a regular Tesla, though. Right?
Correct, but you know, it's not my vibe. Like, this is a truck, so
Yeah.
I'm like a Lance. You know what I'm saying?
It's
So
the truck.
When I was asking you earlier, like, is the Cybertruck the future of home service type businesses? Do you see a reality in which people go to the more electronical route versus like traditional gasoline, fossil fuel trucks?
yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting because even similar, I know he was saying this when we first got here, but I get a lot of flack for loving the Cybertruck. Like, he and I are like unique in a sense. I guess where we're from, where we like the Cybertruck. I want one, he wants one. But every time I see him in public with people, or I bring up the fact that I do want one, everybody hates them. So I wonder when we'll get to a point where people will act like just start to adopt it for what it is. You don't see him a lot out here, so maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't get the hate either, man. You go through like Westchester, and like some people are like putting up the middle fingers and yelling at. You know,
Really?
yeah, oh, dude, it's crazy. Like shit, like people saying like I keep it pushing, but like I don't know why they hate.
A lot of people just don't like Elon. I think that's probably what it
That's what
is.
it
And
is, I
because he
think, too.
makes
And
it
it's different. People have a
Yeah.
hard time adjusting.
accepting, the new
It's
reality.
different, man. They're not rolling around in the Cybertruck. They haven't driven it, so
Yeah.
I do have gratitude towards maybe they just don't know how it feels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was interesting getting in that thing too for the first time. I wasn't expecting it because I got into another. What was it? What Tesla does Bill have that we were in
I think
recently?
it's a Model S.
Model S. So yeah, we were in the Model S recently, and I thought the same thing. I was kind of shocked by how just sleek it is on the inside. I wasn't expecting that because before his, like a few months back, I've never even been in a Tesla yet. In the Cybertruck, that was my first time seeing the interior.
It's like a mix between a Range Rover interior and like an actual truck. You know what I'm saying? Like big open spaces, but it's just so clean and neat and minimalistic.
Yeah. Now, did you pay for the auto driving back when you initially purchased it?
Yes, sir.
'Cause I was gonna say I just seen a post today and I didn't know how true it was. I wanted to ask you about it, but I heard that they are apparently making that free for everybody on the Cybertruck now. I could be wrong, but
I think you are correct. I don't pay attention to the details. I know I have the foundation model,
Yeah.
so like that's like the Cyber Beast foundation, and then like the regulars or something like that. So I don't know exactly, but I do have self-driving on mine.
you're gonna get it wrapped in the CMG, embroidered.
I was thinking that, but I probably won't.
Yeah,
Just because I go fucking 120 miles an hour down 202. Like,
yeah.
like
Everybody
it's-
gonna notice you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't hide, right?
exactly.
You already can't really hide in the Cybertruck, but
I
it's
know.
wrapped in the CMG. It's like, bro, you're not getting away with anything.
I got the two front windows tinted up so people couldn't see if it was me or not driving it.
Yeah.
That's tough. Chase, I want to know, when in your life did you really begin to understand the value of money?
Very early on.
Yeah? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. When I very early on, that was one of like, if you want to label it as like a skill set, it was probably one of my first skill sets I learned, because I still remember when my parents gave me the first dollar. I did like some sort of chore, and I was like very young, 5, 6, 7 years old, and my mom was always helping us. So like she literally was like, all right, we got to set up your bank account. So she took us to Malvern Federal Bank. We got my bank account,
Yeah.
bank account set up, and I still vividly remember going to the counter, like making the deposit slip for a fucking $1. And then I would look at that bank statement. I was like, I got $1. How can I get more? And like that's where it started. Then I would do chores, and like I think about this, like the ratio. So like in today's world, I'll book flights or do vacations, buy dinners, and I don't really care about the price. But when I was 18, dude, I might have had 120 grand in my bank account. I would not spend $20 at Chipotle because I was like very focused on my goals. And so like that goes back to the value of money. I was very protective of my money.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is about other people? Like, why do other people not realize the significance of money to the point where they're not setting financial goals? They're not really thinking in terms of like with the financial lens. Like, what do you think you understood or understand that other people just don't get?
Well, I think number one, all our mindsets and ways of life come from experiences. So maybe they haven't lived a certain experience yet. Maybe it's someone's want and desires are different. If that makes sense. That's why I think some people, and again, going back to, it's a skill set, man. You don't realize it as you're building a skill set of saving money. Like people can earn it, but are they saving it? So like there's earning, there's saving, there's sales, there's all these skill sets that are very important.
Yeah. Did you recognize the power of money at a young age? Like when you were 5, 6, 7, you were saying you got that first dollar. Did you recognize what the money could get you at the time? Like, was it about like the toys or like, I remember, I think if I remember correctly, initially on the first podcast, you were talking about how you wanted like an ATV or a quad or something like that, right?
Yes.
So at the time, I guess what I'm trying to get at is when you were young, it obviously to me seems like you made a fun game about it. Like, all right, so if I have $1 in my bank account, how can I make it 5? How can I make it 10? But my question was, did you recognize the power that number actually meant at a young age?
Maybe, definitely not actively, but looking back at it, like you said, I wanted this damn dirt bike, and I had to convince my parents for years for me to even get a dirt bike. And then it was like $2,200 brand new, and let's say I was like 11 or something like that. I was saving all my money up, my Christmas money, all this stuff and chores, and that was the first thing I ever bought, like pretty big, was a brand new Kawasaki 110 dirt bike.
That's awesome.
And so whether I realized it, like the power of it, or just was like living it. Yeah. And I really wanted something, so I did everything in my power to get that dirt bike, and then that was the first thing, and then it just keeps going.
But you were able to connect the dots, like, oh, if I want this item, all I need is this green paper, and I can get said item. Yes. That's what it was. That's interesting.
Again, that was not my thinking actively, but looking back at it, I mean, that's probably exactly what it was, right? If I want something, whether it's a fucking jet, whether it's a steakhouse dinner, or a dirt bike, what do I need? It's money.
It's interesting, too, because I work in a school where they incentivize the kids with good behavior by giving them a thing that they call, like, whatever cash it might be, so that they'll give them money for it. And I always try to convince a lot of my students, like, oh, if you want something better, because they'll always be like, oh, I just get, like, a sticker for $1 or whatever. I'm like, if you want something better, you have to save your money. You have to save this cash or whatever they give you so you can buy the better stuff. But a lot of the kids, at least, like, it seems like the vast majority of them that I've noticed, when they get that first dollar, they just want to spend that first dollar. So they'll buy whatever they can just to say that they bought something, rather than saving up the money and getting something they actually want, which I think is interesting for kids, because I just don't think they understand it.
And you better look for the kid that's like saving his stack and his money, man. That's the one you want to bet on. But like, you're 100% right. Like, I grew up with kids that would get some money, chores, whether it's like my own brother, complete opposite. He'd get his $5 or whatever and would go spend it. That's it. That's like a skill, like discipline is how I would label it. Let me stack up over like literally years to get that $2,200 to buy that bike, and same thing in today's world.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about is, what is your approach to goals? Because I think setting and achieving goals, similar to making money, is a skill. So how do you approach a new goal of yours? Like, if you think I want to do something or I want to buy something, are you like from the school of thought of I'm going to manifest this, or what's your approach? Like, how do you make that happen?
So really, I just think about a goal and I work myself backwards. So we can talk about anything for my life. Like, let's talk about my jet, because it's a real life goal. Yeah. If I want to buy a jet, that's $2 million. Let's just say in this analogy, you need $500K down. All right. Well, what does Chase need to make per year to save up $500K? And you need more than $500K. You need equity and assets, and you need more cash and floating cash. So, I think manifesting is a portion of it, a very small portion of it. It's really like, all right, that's my goal. Work myself backwards. Where am I at? And then all I'm focused on, once I have like a rough game plan in my head, all I'm focused on is, all right, where am I at? What's my next step? What's my next step? And I'm only really focused on my next step, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I like the concept of being locked in. It's become a really popular concept, right? But I think the problem
like
with
word phrase.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I like it, and I want to get into it too. I want you to break that down. But I think the problem with the goal setting thing is that, you can have a goal, it might cost X amount of dollars, but sometimes there's like temptation, or sometimes people reach into problems, and so they dip their hand into that account and it stops from growing. So how do you perceive that and handle that temptation?
Dude, that's such a great question. I think that was, a skill I learned very early on when I was trying to buy a dirt bike or the zero turn. Yeah. So I think for me, it's a lot easier at this point in my life, to be 100% honest with you. How do I avoid temptation? I plan things out. I don't know, guys. I don't like. I just do me. You know what I'm saying? I guess like I know. I'm trying to give you guys examples because like that's how I think about shit in my head. So like, yes, could Chase go buy a G-Wagon today and a Lamborghini and like a Florida house? Sure, but my goal is to buy a jet. So like I'm not buying those things and just stacking my cash.
Mm-hmm. You have a higher priority, it seems like. There's something better than that you're chasing in the meantime. So that, what would you call it? Like, I guess like short-term pleasure is not necessarily what you're aiming for.
Correct. And like the want is way higher for this type of lifestyle, this feeling, the XYZ. So going back to manifesting, when I first started wanting a jet, I bought a Wheels Up membership and I buy like the hot flights. And that's how I got on my first jet, dude. And I drove down to fucking Lancaster, this first jet I ever got on. And I walked on myself and like all this shit. Like, dude, it was like, I still remember it today, man. Like I had the biggest smile. And so that goes back to manifesting. Like, hey, let me just get on this. I'm still doing the real life shit, saving money, buying assets that's going to pay for this, building businesses that's going to pay for this. But like, let me just get a feeling of it. And so like, that's why maybe I'm so locked in on that.
I'm happy you brought back up the jet thing, because that was actually something I did write on this paper. I had to bring up to you again, because again, it's been a long time since I last saw you. So I was going to see, so where are you at in the jet or the race to cop the PJ? Where are you at?
I mean, I'm definitely a lot closer than I was
back then.
Yeah, a year ago.
Over a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a lot closer. I'm pretty liquid right now. So, you know, is it going to be next year? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because you know how it's like, you go to the gym, like you start like your journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You start looking better, feeling better. It's like, well, I want more. And so it's like, at some point, you're going to build up so many real estates and businesses and net worth that it's like, all right, I want that fucking, it's going to happen out of the blue, like with a lot of this shit, like my Corvette, I bought the Cybertruck. Yeah. Like it's just signing some papers and lining that shit up.
Do you have foresight for what you do when you inevitably do buy the PJ? Like, what do you think would be the next thing for you? It seems like that's like one of those big boss levels in your life that you have to get to and conquer and beat. But post that, did you ever envision a life after you own the PJ? Like, what do you do?
No, bro, I don't. And that's one thing I think about. Because, like, dude, and I love that question because it's like, you know what I think about when I think that question? I was like, I'm going to figure that out when I'm riding on my PJ. Yeah. I'm going to figure that shit out like then.
That's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. I wanted to ask you, too, like, do you, for, like, the nature of the stuff that you do, and I know, like, the content that you make and then post on Instagram, do you receive a lot of hate or no?
Hey, who knows how you define a lot? Yeah. I definitely have haters. Yeah. In real life, it's obviously like 3% of the online stuff. You know, funny enough, I was at a party the other night, and it wasn't like, you know how rappers will get pressed in real life and like fights start? Yeah. You know, I was getting like not pressed at all, but this guy, you know, that's also local to the area, I guess his buddy owns a landscaping company, and
Turf war.
His trucks was in one of my videos, and I might have said something about the truck, and I don't even remember the video, but he brought that up. And so, you know, we had a man-to-man conversation, and after the conversation, before we parted ways, he's like, you know, I really like you, man. Like, so online is one thing, a clip that people see, you know, is one thing. Yeah. Come sit down, have a conversation like we do. We're real people, like you know what I'm saying? So but yeah, there's haters out there all the time.
My reason for asking that is because I was going back when we were prepping for the podcast. I went all the way back onto your Instagram page from like the last time we did the podcast, and I was just kind of seeing what you were up to. But in the meantime, while I was doing that, I was looking back at some of those clips that we had posted on Instagram the first time we did the podcast, when you were talking about, I think there was one specifically about the PJ, and then there was one you brought up earlier in the pod where you were talking about how your mom would give you money for doing chores around the house. Yep. And for some reason, the people were so mad at that. And I don't know why. I have no idea what it was, but they were like, oh, he's getting paid for doing what he's supposed to be doing. I don't know. I just thought it was funny, so I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be opinions and thoughts and hate. And again, man, I'm a focused individual. Yeah. I respect everyone's opinion. That's great that they have it, but I don't care about their opinion and my life's my life. Their life is theirs. Yeah. You know?
And that's not coming from our core audience either. That's just some random guy that saw it on the Instagram reel. But that's the thing. Like, you were just getting at the clips are very easy to be taken out of context if you're not sitting down in the room and having fun and actually learning about you and your story and what you mean.
And that's a huge thing. Like, I know we're all content creators here,
Yeah.
but I'm also going to, like, play the other side, the devil's advocate, and say, like, you know, if you guys are watching this, guys, don't like, hone in on one clip of someone or a comment you see from someone. Oh, well, my billionaire mentor told me lawn mowing's great. Whatever it is, like, you don't know that person behind the camera.
Yeah.
You don't, you know, you just don't. Like, I prefer to have real relationships, focus on real life mentors. You can get ideas and educate yourself with certain online content, but just understand it's a lot of times it might not be real life.
Yeah. People use that as a medium to really, I think, try to understand what's going on in the world, but it's definitely not the best way to learn what's actually going on out there.
Exactly.
Is things like Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. Like, honestly, it's probably better for you to just stay off of those things in terms of, like, your knowledge. That's why I like podcasts and stuff like that. Like, if you can find a good podcast that you enjoy for a piece of, or an idea or whatever it is that you might be floating around with in your head, then, like, go to a podcast where somebody's, like, talking about that thing and figure it out. Some people go on Instagram looking for the next $1 million idea and then get mad at guys like you for saying things.
Yeah, it just doesn't work like that in real life. So
Yeah.
I agree, man. Do your research. Have a team, whether it's lawyers, accountants, industry experts within your area. Things like that is where you want to, you know, bounce business ideas off of and really take education that you're going to act on from real life people.
What do you think it takes for a person to lock in?
Oof, that's a great question.
Somebody who's not locked
I
in.
love that term.
What would you tell them? Like, how would you get them to lock in?
Man, wake the fuck up. No, but in all seriousness, it goes, and that's why, again, I go back to how blessed I am because of my kidney transplant.
Mhm.
I've had an experience that many people obviously haven't had, and so they don't have the perspective that I have. And so that's obviously probably one of the big reasons I'm so locked in and just focused on my goals, disciplined, I can say no to certain things. So again, it depends on their level of want, their level of discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like, it varies for everyone.
I believe when we walked in here too, you and Colin were talking. You guys were kind of having your own little conversation while we were setting up, and I believe I heard you mention something to him along the lines of you have to work. And I think where you were going with that was revolving specifically around like your typical job or like your intro job. So I want to know what you meant by that. And if I misheard you, by all means, just say that. But
you have to work. Like, what were we talking about again?
I think you guys, truthfully, you guys were catching up initially, and I think he was kind of telling you what he's been up to and what he's been doing.
Yeah.
And again, like I was saying, I was setting up, so it was just like a brief, like one-off thing that I heard. But I do believe I heard you say something along those lines of you got to work like in those earlier stages, and I just wanted to know what you meant by that.
Yeah, like,
but if you don't remember it, it's
yeah.
okay.
Well, the whole thing, and for the guests that don't see Colin, he's another member of the Go Getters.
Yes, sir. Right over here.
He had a liver transplant a year ago, and so our first conversation was around healthcare, and Colin was asking questions about, hey man, like I'm gonna start making money, and I'm gonna have like my healthcare might get removed because of a certain income bracket and stuff like that, and like this happens to a lot of, you know, beginner entrepreneurs where it's like, yo, dude, don't even worry about that. And we discussed this, man. The problem he's describing, he might not have that for another 15 years. And so I was like, yo, dude, that goes back to goal setting. I'm always focused on my next step.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to, you know, communicate to Colin. Like, yo, dude, don't worry about this. You know what I'm saying? Focus on let's make the money first.
Yeah.
Let's save the money second. Then we'll figure out write-offs so you don't, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of is like, yo, dude, don't worry about the problem that's 10 steps down the road. Let's focus on step number 1.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he also brought that up to me, I guess, what was that, like a week or two ago? You brought up the healthcare thing to me. That's something I never considered. Because we're all young guys. I haven't had to ever really think about my healthcare. But when he brought up the reality of like the entrepreneurship, when you hit that age, that ripe age of 25, and you're out there in the world, or 26, whatever it is. And then you got to go get your own health insurance. As an entrepreneur, I'd imagine that's pretty hard and a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. So it is, man. And that's where I think as you grow up, man, you got to figure shit out. And that's one of those things. It's like, you know, ask questions, learn, and just keep it moving.
Do you think healthcare can ever be free?
I have a good question.
It probably should be, right?
I would wonder why it's not. Because I think I was telling you prior
It's hard to pay for.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Well, prior to, like, I think what we were talking about, I think Obama, when you looked into that, did you conclude that it's not necessary in the state of Pennsylvania to have health care?
I don't think you need to have it. I don't
Yeah,
think
we
it's
were just looking into
illegal
that.
to not have health care.
See, I thought it was. I thought when Obama was president, he passed a bill or something like that that required every United States citizen to have health insurance or health care. But I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's
There's
not my
probably a
ballpark.
program out there
Yeah.
that will allow. But again, I'm not a healthcare expert.
Yeah.
Going back to your thing, do you think healthcare should be free?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Again, I'm right-leaning conservative. Nothing in life is free,
Yeah.
right? So you paid for that mic.
Yeah.
You paid for that camera. So if it's free to you, someone's paying for it.
Yeah.
And so let's say the government in this analogy is going to pay for everyone's health care. Well, who pays the government? The citizens of that country.
Yeah.
So someone's paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
That makes
depends on
sense.
like what level you're paying for it.
When your eggs and they start going up $5, your milk goes up $12, and then that's how you're paying for it. You're
Nothing's
paying into
free.
it that way.
We were just having a political conversation on the way down here. We were trying to figure out and understand what
Tariffs were, yeah.
Okay, so
Tariffs are interesting.
you guys know what tariffs are, right?
Now, yeah.
Essentially, it's just a tax on foreign, like just
Yeah.
like we pay in the state of PA. I think it's 6% on any like cigars, clothes, food. A tariff essentially is literally a tax on foreign goods coming into this country. So
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff is made in China that we buy. Any good, and what's the value of that good? We're going to put a 6% tariff on that product, and that's
Yeah.
going to get paid to the government.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That was interesting on the way up here talking about that because, we are in that time where I think we started talking about that because we're in the season of just constantly your phone or YouTube or whatever it is. If you watch the game on TV, like that's all you're seeing is just the political things. And I think we started talking about that by saying, I just can't wait for this shit to be over.
Same, dude. Oh,
We got, 5 days until this is all done, said and done?
I don't know. I think it's Tuesday, right? That's when everybody starts voting.
Yeah. Oh, no, if it's Tuesday, then it's only 2 days away. Today's Sunday at the time
don't know
that
when
we're
they count
recording
all
this
the ballots and
podcast.
stuff like
yeah,
that.
it's Tuesday. It's usually they have the results out like that night or the next morning, Wednesday. Usually.
We're coming up on that, man.
So where are you at in your real estate game right now?
Real estate, so I bought 6 properties the second half of last year.
Yeah.
And so really, again, this happens in business, right? Like real estate is a whole other business. You have to learn it, and there's learning lessons that cost you money, cost you time. And so really this year for my real estate portfolio was stabilizing my portfolio, was renovating all those units that we pretty much got most of the renovations done last year, and then getting them rented out was a lot longer than I thought. Because by the time they were finished, it was wintertime, and no one moves in the wintertime. So I had like 3 or 4 vacant houses up until like February, March, April, and so now almost everything is rented out and cash flowing and money's stacking up. So this was really just a year to like stabilize what I bought and figure out my strategy.
Did you sell recently? Any real estate?
I did. I owned 2 properties up in Shamokin, PA. I sold the first one. That was an easy cash sale. The second one, I actually just closed. Like, you don't close on it, but I essentially owner finance, or it's called a lease to purchase to an individual. So he gave me a down payment. He has a monthly payment set up that'll come to me, essentially like a landlord until that's paid off. Then he'll own that.
How would you simply explain your real estate strategy and philosophy?
Great question. So originally I started investing for cash on cash return, which is like, if I'm going to invest $100,000 in this deal, what's my net cash flow? I'm going to divide those 2 numbers, and that's how you come up with your cash on cash return. Now, like I was just telling these guys, if Chase Gallagher is making money in his landscaping business, consulting, brand deals, and that's number one. Income generation and raising my income is always my number one goal and growth, right? So my real estate is secondary. My real estate really is there in the short term to minimize my tax liability, which is essentially what I pay the government, my tax bill. So what I slowly started realizing is, like, why am I buying these $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 houses? Let me just move my focus to a higher market, right? So like Westchester, Chester County, to $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 properties, because those are going to give me, I'm going to do less deals, so save me more time. I'm going to have more depreciation on those deals. I'm going to have more interest because I'm going to use leverage. And if you're financially set up the right way, leverage is a kind of a good tool. And that's an opinion, but that's my opinion. And so that's what I did. I'm moving into higher end markets.
So you're not now super concerned about the cash flow that a property produces. You're more concerned about the back end aspect of how it can affect your primary landscaping company.
It's not going to affect my landscaping company. I'm worried about my tax bill, right?
Mhm.
So like, I used to invest a lot for the cash flow, and I still do. You have to be net positive. And so like my portfolio currently is set up with like a couple paid off properties. That's all net cash flow. Obviously, you have taxes, maintenance, insurance. Then I have a couple of properties that are leveraged in higher appreciating markets. And again, those are still bringing income and they're appreciating, right? So like, for example, I bought a $436,000 2-unit in Westchester in the beginning of 2023. I did a cost segregation study on that property, and I was able to write off 90 grand against my income. All right, so that's just one analogy, and it cash flowed for a little while, for a year, right? So if the mortgage was $3,300 on that property, I was bringing in $4,300 in gross rents every month. So that's a great deal. I love that deal. So I want to do more of those style deals. Yeah. And so on top of that, the same type of house, literally 6 doors down, sold for like $560 a couple weeks ago. So if you're just rough looking at it, all right, it gained 100 grand in appreciation. And if I have debt on it, I have the interest write-off, I have the depreciation, and what was it? Depreciation, and again, it's in Westchester market. That thing appreciated 100 grand, and appreciation's not cash in your bank account. So that's a very fine thing you got to realize.
And this is, I think you told me, this is the wealthiest county in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Chester County?
Yeah.
Now, are you here more for business, or are you more here because this is home for you?
Business.
Business?
Yeah.
So
Did
where
you
do
grow
you
up here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
My whole life in Chester Springs.
Really? So I know he said recently, or no, I think actually you put this on your story that you typically in the winter times you go down to Florida.
Correct.
You think that's where you'll finish?
Most likely, or I'll spend the majority of my time down there.
Yeah. What's it like down in Florida? Like, when do you plan on going?
I actually head down there on Wednesday.
Really? And what's the reality in Florida like right now, post like the hurricanes that were like 2 weeks ago?
I haven't been down there, but I'm pretty sure it's chill, man. I mean, obviously there's some people that their homes got demolished and stuff, but that's not everywhere.
What's wrong? Oh. Okay, I thought you were about to tell me something like bad happened. But no, I'm going to be in Miami December 12th to the 16th, I think I'm going to say.
Cool.
Going to Rolling Loud down there. It's going to be interesting.
Oh, nice.
Opinion question. Do you think that this current real estate market will stay where it is? It seems to me like it's kind of topped out. Do you think that it'll continue to go up the way it's been going up, or do you think that there will be a scenario in which like something happens, things start to go back down, things start to balance themselves back out? Or do you think like where we're at is where we're going to be and continue to build on?
In the single family real estate space, I predict that we're where we're at, and we're going to slowly increase in values. Nothing like we saw over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at like the market, and I'm copy and pasting data from online, so I'm a blonde-haired landscaper, guys. I'm not some fucking hedge fund analysis. But what I've heard is like the single family market. There's a need for 5 million more single family homes in America. So as long as you always have that need, values, the want's always going to be there for buyers, right? And so if you look at the multifamily space, that's a different story. Rates have skyrocketed or doubled since COVID, when a lot of these investor groups were buying these. And so that's a different space where there's a lot of action going on between hedge funds, and there's way more variable values and stuff like that.
So it's a different game based on like the style of real estate. So
correct.
Single family is one way, and then multifamily is a different way. Now, when you're saying multifamily, you're talking about commercial properties like 5 units and up, or are you talking about like double blocks, duplexes, stuff like that?
I am talking about 5 units and up, but even bigger, like 5 unit market is still pretty stable. Like I'm talking about like 12, 15, even bigger, 20, 50, 100, 200 unit buildings plus commercial space is definitely taking a hit.
Interesting.
Via COVID. Yeah.
Do you own anything like that?
I don't. I own what will be a development project. It's not currently necessarily like in action, but that will be a multi-unit style development.
Yeah, and is that going to be here?
Here in Downingtown.
Wow. Dude.
Now, would you transfer your current portfolio and put it into that, or would that be its own separate project, do you think?
That's definitely its own separate project, and that's something where it's so big, where we would build a development, a townhouse development on my land. So it might require a lot more than what Chase has. So maybe it's bringing in partners, maybe it's getting a certain approvals and then selling that worth off to someone. In a perfect world,
Where's this guy going?
I don't know.
Bathroom? Oh, okay.
In a perfect world, man, I keep the real estate, right? I develop the neighborhood. Let's say it cost me $25 million to develop this,
Wow.
and then rent those properties out. But
And what's the time frame looking like on something like this?
man, I was trying to get that thing started this year.
It's a big play, it seems like.
Yeah, and when I say getting started, like it's like it could be a 10, 12, it could be a 3-year project. I don't know. I'm not a developer yet, but that's a learning process that I'm gonna probably, go through.
Where is the landscaping business at currently?
Downingtown,
I know, but I'm talking about.
Chester County. Like we service the greater like the Philadelphia main line.
I mean, what's the situation on the landscaping business? Like I asked about how
I
your
see.
real estate is doing.
Yes.
Where are you currently at in terms of maybe the strategies or the plays or the game plan with your landscaping business?
Yeah, I mean, the landscaping business is very healthy this year. We're not doubling year over year like we were when we were 300, 500, right? We're going to do, let's say, 10 to 15% more in revenue than 2023's numbers, maybe 20%. And the net profits are a lot stronger this year. So, depending on the type of businessman you are, you're looking at top line number or the net profits, which is the bottom line number. But it's very strong. We
How have you evolved over the past, say, 2 or 3 years? Because I know it's been strong, for a few years now. But how have you guys continued to evolve? What are some adjustments that you guys have had to make to continue to scale that business?
It's always about like learning new things, right? So like 2024, this year, I really put a lot of money into paid advertising. Versus over COVID, we would get so many freaking calls just from the Facebook groups, just from organic marketing. And so I did, like, not that I'm a savant, I predicted, like, yo, dude, our demand's going down. People are back to work. They're not sitting at their house all day. And so I'm going to start figuring out the paid advertising thing, and I'm going to devote a portion of my company's revenue to just going right back into paid advertising, whether I see the ROI right there or not. And that's the big thing about paid advertising, like Angie's Leads. You might pay for it 3 months in a row and get one job, and Angie's Leads might cost you, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 just a month. So you might spend $6-8 grand, and you're like, but then on that 7th month that you've already spent 10 G's on, you get 3, $25,000 patio projects. And so what I've learned so far, and again, I've been doing it I've done paid advertising, but what I'm really realizing is like, you got to have the bankroll to support this stuff long enough where it's like, oh, now it's actually working. Like there's a 70K, there's a 40K. And so the back half of this year, we really got consistent at closing those 30 to 70K projects, and my crews being on site for a week to 2 at a time. And then it gives us more run time. You know what I mean? So, God willingly, the game plan's working, I guess.
So prior to that plan that you guys came up with, did you guys not have a budget for that type of advertising, that paid advertisement, or are you guys just doing it a completely different way?
We had a budget. Let's call that budget 12 grand a year, 15 grand a year.
Yeah.
Doing tons of organic and networking and stuff like that. And I still do all that. But this past year, we really got into the paid ads, and I was like, yo, dude, it's a paid learning lesson, right? Like, so that was my mindset on it. It's like, yo, dude, I don't necessarily need that extra 15 grand at the end of the year. So let's play with it and see what it produces me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How do you think how long are you into this game now?
The landscaping game?
Yeah.
10 years, technically.
10 years.
Yeah, because I started mowing lawns, and I started buzz cut lawn care when I was 13.
So how do you think your mindset had to evolve from, say, year one? Like, take me through the entire progression of how you've had to evolve mentally from, say, year one to where you guys are today. What did you have to figure out personally within yourself to be able to scale and to achieve the success that you've achieved?
Here's a great analogy, and I think about this a lot. What you think is the right way in the beginning could almost be the complete opposite of what the right thing to do is. For example, when I started mowing lawns at 13 and I was like a lawn care company, my whole mindset was like, oh, the money's in lawn mowing, all the money's in lawn mowing. And I was like, you could not change my mind. And I was only a little 13, 14-year-old boy. Like, my balls didn't even drop, and I was like going up to these people's doors, like asking for. I was scared shitless, but that was like lived and died by that mindset. Then I started getting around more experienced people in my industry, just through like literally, like networking. Like, but it can be a million different things, and you start learning from more experienced people, and they're like, they would shit talk lawn mowing for years, and I'm like, all right, well, like he's kind of right. Like I started getting into landscaping, doing those jobs, and then I saw how much money I could make with that per day, per week, per month, and then I eventually like took a career adjustment and switch and was like, I'm gonna do this. I took a risk, and I was 18, 19 years old, and I went all in on project based, and so when I was 18, 19, my whole mindset was, man, I would never buy someone else's business. That'd be a waste of my money. I could take $100K and spend it over 4 years and grow my business out of that. The smartest people, almost in our country are M&A guys, mergers and acquisitions. So there is value in that. And so like that was another mindset shift going back to like when I first got started. The smartest minds and the people that make the most money are buying and selling businesses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chase, you also started a new company, right?
Yeah.
So what's that all about?
I started a company called Lawn Pro, and Lawn Pro is a turf care, tree and shrub company where essentially we go onto people's lawns and fertilize their lawn. We do weed control, and then we can also like diagnose and treat certain diseases on trees and shrubs.
That's completely separate from CMG.
Yes, sir. Now I'm using my CMG client base to market those services.
Yeah.
And I'm using, my marketing skills and stuff and my network to build that team, and to get leads, and my jobber software that's running that company. So I kind of like obviously took all my learning lessons that might have taken me 5-8 years to learn, and I'm like decreasing that.
Go for it.
I think this is a good segue for this idea and this question. So for somebody who's new to entrepreneurship, what would you diagnose them to do, or maybe what would you give them to think about for somebody who wants to start their own business, wants to start making more money, wants to start creating more financial independence for themselves? Like, what would your advice be to new entrepreneurs?
And again, I'm going to preface this and context this with, I'm a landscaper. I'm like a, there's different levels of entrepreneurship. Like once you start talking to people, there's guys like trying to save the world through, not just electric batteries, but magnetic fusion and like crazy stuff. So if we're just talking at like my level, you want to start a home service company, go out there and sell and go make $1, go make $50, $100, like go make your money and then get right into the game, man. Does that make sense? Like
just jump right in.
Jump right in, start marketing, promoting your service. If you want to start a home service company, landscaping, electric, HVAC, lawn care, pool service, anything, go preface your Facebook account around your company, right? Go make a couple posts. Go friend every local person on the local Facebook groups you can. Post 5 times as you're friending these people for the next couple of weeks, and you'll start to build like leads, real impressions that big companies pay thousands of dollars to make as far as their marketing. So that's what I would start with. Go make your first couple dollars. Don't spend it because you don't realize how much it's actually going to cost you to grow your company. Save that shit and then keep stacking.
So initially you would start with finding leads, closing, making your first dollar.
Yes.
Just jump right in.
Yes.
Even if the water's cold.
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever it might be. So I don't know if we ever asked you this in the first episode, but what made you choose? So back when you initially started, you were just mowing lands. It wasn't necessarily traditional landscaping, would you say, right?
Yes.
So what inspired you to take action and do that rather than, I guess, anything else you could have been doing at the time?
So that was the only thing I knew how to do that I could offer other people. Like I was mowing my parents' lawn for, let's say, a season or two.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, what? And I was maxing out my chores. So like I was like, I gotta make more money somehow. And I was 13. You had to be 14 to have a job in the state of PA. So I was like, how can I make money? I again went online and I started watching people that were doing what I wanted to do. Found a flyer from this guy that I emailed, made it my own, and that's how I got started.
Yeah.
I knew how to mow lawn, so that's what I was doing.
Were you ever like the lemonade stand kid, or were you out shoveling snow in the earlier days? Did you do anything like that?
Yes, sir. I did have a lemonade stand at some point. It wasn't like a big thing. It was like, it's a one-day thing, and I was always out there every snowstorm shoveling.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial roots. I know that this won't really apply to Chase because he doesn't know who he is, but you know our guy TB, Tyler?
Yeah.
What do you think his ass would be up to right now if he just adopted the Chase mentality? You remember when we were younger, like he had the same type of business structure and business model, but we used to always, I don't know, it was just funny back then because that's all he did, but then didn't
Cut
like
grass,
actually make a
shovel.
business out of
Yeah.
it.
I think a lot of times, like, I think the skill of being a business owner and entrepreneur is something that you have to adapt.
It's like a
and figure out.
separation.
If you don't, then you'll just be like a guy who cuts grass.
He just did it to do it. It seemed like I don't think he actually had the vision for like. I guess to give you I guess a bit of information as to what we're talking about. We were friends with this guy. That I don't see him too much anymore. But back in the day when we were all very young, he's around our age, but he would do the same thing. He would cut and do the yards and like I guess you could just say the mowing of like everybody in the neighborhood. He was like the guy that had the little trailer thing with the lawn mowers and the weed whackers and the little hedge clippers and everything. So like he was just out there getting it at a real young age, but just didn't, I guess you could say, transfer it into like a bigger idea, which is what you inevitably did.
Yeah, and you know, at that stage, a lot of it's belief, like ideas mixed with the belief, hey, I can do this. This is going to become something bigger, and I'm going to really work towards it. Yes, and some people just get into it. They don't like it, so go do what you want to do. You know what I mean?
You ever heard Alex Hormozy's thoughts on like the seasons of life?
Yes, like he had a recent quote where it's like, you'll be overworked but overeducated in your 20s, or you're going to be undereducated and like live more of your 20s. And then, like, you know, are you talking like stuff like that?
Yeah, same idea. And like, you know, you go into a season of like heavy work, and then there's like very specific seasons where perhaps you're working on your health or you're working on your mentality, or, you know, whatever. And so I want to know, what season of your life do you think that you're currently in?
Dude, I was just having this conversation before this podcast with Colin. I was explaining my season.
To be hyper specific about what it is. Yeah.
Yes. So kidney transplant happened when I was 20. You get out of that, like you're starting to feel normal person at 6 months post-transplant. So then I was like in this like, you know, like whole different head game, dude, where I was like, I just want to enjoy life. And like I traveled all over. We went out to Greece for a couple of weeks, like did this whole thing. And, you know, enjoyed just having dinners out with my family. Like I was like content with that. And then, you know, starting around like the year and a half mark is like, well, damn, dude, like I got some goals, man. I want to build a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. I want to build big businesses. Like I'm going to be 24 in a couple months. Like let's get the fuck to work. And so over the past year and a half, that's when I'm in my locked in season. I'm working quite a bit. I still focus on my health. I go to the gym. I do smoke cigars, but I'm in my locked in season, and I will be locked the fuck in until I like buy a jet or sell a company or two, or flip a company or two, or, you know, something like that.
To be general, what is your perception on the balance between work and play, or work and pleasure?
To be general,
because I know
you
right
could
now
dive into it too. Like, what just generally do you like to do, like for fun outside of the grind and like everything? You know, like I'd imagine you live a pretty jam-packed day. Yeah. How do you, I guess you could say, how do you take your edge off?
Yeah, I do. I go to the gym.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of people that I have conversations with that maybe drink a little too much, or they have a vice that could really be hurting. Like, you know, I always try to maybe switch that vice into a positive vice. So for me, that's like going to the gym. Yeah. I love going to the gym. And it does multiple things. It helps me. It's like that release. You know what I'm saying? It makes you feel better. I go out to dinners. I love going out to nice steakhouses and just like, dude, it's just a comforting feeling. Yeah. I travel, get on a plane, go somewhere. But even most recently, like when I was in Europe this past summer, after the first couple days, it's like you get this anxiety on you. And I'm not a big like anxiety guy. Obviously it's real. People have it, but you know, you start getting like this anxiety where it's like, damn, I need to be back in the field, like building my businesses. And so like, that's where I'm going. Like when I explain my locked in season, I don't have the urge like I did post-transplant to like go over and hang out in a foreign country. Yes, I love doing that. Yeah. But my want is to just work.
That's good. I mean, and I actually kind of know what you're hinting at with that too. I don't know if he ever brought this up to you on conversation, and sorry for the people watching because we probably told you this a million times, but last December, he and I went to Colombia for 2 weeks. We were backpacking, and I remember vividly there was one day towards the end of the trip where I was like sitting in our room, and I think it was towards the end of the night, and I was just hanging out. And I was thinking to myself, like, I would do anything to, like, just be sitting at my desk, like, editing a video or working on some shit or getting something done. Where traditionally, like, while I do love what I do and I really enjoy it, I wouldn't say, like, I'm inspired to the point where that's all I want to do ever. Like, I'm a man with a lot of interests and I have a lot of things going on. But I do remember that vividly, being back in Colombia and thinking, like, man, I just want to be working right now. Like, I want to be grinding. And, like, I didn't have that. It was a different grind in its own way, like just surviving and figuring out this new situation that we were in. But I get exactly what you're talking about in terms of that.
Yeah, that's the feeling.
Yeah.
So,
But on a traditional day, most of the time, you would say your mind is just elsewhere on that, like chasing your goals and just doing the things that you want to be doing.
yeah, it's day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
It's hey, what is my next? It's the next goal. What am I chasing, man? Is that adding another crew? All right, did I find my guy that's going to drive that truck? Did we train those guys? Is it sales? Do we need more sales to line up for that second, third crew, right? So, like, that's that day-to-day stuff. It's managing my real estate. It's my social media, my brand deals, all this kind of stuff. And then, it's not set out. Like, I don't have a chart, but a portion of my day and my week is like, all right, well, next year, what are we doing? All right, well, what do I got to get done now? Whether that's building a website for a company. It could be a million things. So
I noticed you started doing that. Is that like another new kind of thing that you're stepping into as well, is developing websites for people?
correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's part of like the online brand where we do coaching, consulting. The same guys that build my websites are offering that to my audiences. And so we have like experienced people behind, building these websites.
That's awesome.
It's not something I personally do. I am involved in it to make sure the look and the brand is what this person wants, so to speak, for that company.
Interesting.
Dope. I have another question similar to one I asked recently, but to put an obstacle in the way, what would be your advice to somebody who wants to escape the 9-to-5 life? Like, how would you properly go about solving that problem?
Well, I would go about solving that, and they want to start a business or what?
Sure, yeah. They want to make more income to be able to supplement, say, the income that they make from their 9-to-5.
Yeah, so first I would say have a 5 to 10 year lookout, right? So let's say they're making 100 grand in their 9-to-5 right now. Starting a business, depending on what you are, you will make more money if you're really about that, right? You're gonna make more money, and it starts to like really compound at like that 6 to 10 year mark. So if you're making 100 grand as an employee, just understand that, man. Like, it's not gonna be right away. It can be right away, but I would say majority. So if I was an employee that wanted to start my own company, I'm making sure I have a winter fund or like a certain run rate. I would say at least 6 to 10 months. I can pay my bills, all right? That's one account. Then what do you need to get started in your business? Now, if you have credit and you're fine with leverage, like I am, all right, you can finance a truck. You can finance a dump trailer. You can finance a tractor. But you need your startup capital in a separate account. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so you said you would save up money to cover your expenses, but then you would create another account that is just for the expenses of the business to continue to grow the business, right?
Yeah, and really it's just, it can be in the same savings account, that dollar amount, but you need to know what those dollar amounts are, right? Mm-hmm. So if it costs me $1,000 a month to live, I chase Gallagher before I quit my job. I would want 10 to 12 months at minimum to pay my bills, right? And then let's say I know it's going to cost me 25 grand to just get started for the first 3 months. I'm going to spend about 25 grand in down payments and marketing and a website.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm going to have that in a separate account, and maybe I have some other cash or something that's worth something that I could sell somewhere else.
I've been noticing, I should say, a big uptick in terms of the performance of the content you've been creating on your page too. So congratulations rather for that.
Thank you.
What is your intention and philosophy behind the content creation that you do? Like, is that something you want to step more into going forward into the future, or is that kind of just something that is there to aid, I guess you could say, the businesses that you do own and operate?
At the essence, if you were to boil it down, it's just to help other people, man.
Yeah.
I'm filming my life, and the things I do, and the lessons I've learned, and in my young career, I'm 23.
Yeah.
It's just to help other people, man. How can I help more people? But yeah, to add on top of that, what comes from that, so to speak, is growing my consulting, coaching business, brand deals, working with really solid other companies that have the same values, ethics, and integrity as myself. And showcase those companies. Does that make sense?
Like Fit AF, shout out them. I know you started working with them recently. It's a great company.
I love their food. It's actually waiting for me at my house.
There you go.
They deliver today. They deliver on Sundays.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys. Shout out to Jordan Galasso too. He's the man.
That's the man.
And Tony.
Yeah, shout out Tony.
Tony, I have yet to meet, but I mean, by the way, you were talking about him. He's a great guy. And then what's also going on with the podcast too? Were you starting a podcast?
We have a podcast, CMG University, and we actually changed the name to Home Service Podcast.
Okay.
Which I'm excited about. And so that gets released like bi-weekly.
Yeah.
It fluctuates. It's all like, I'm a big advocate of like keeping the main thing. What's my main focus? What's my main chunk of income? CMG landscaping. That's what I make the majority of my money in.
Yeah.
So that's always going to be the main thing.
Yeah.
So if a podcast is going to take away from that, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, but we still do the podcast.
Are you familiar with James DeMullen?
He said
School of Hard Knocks
he
guy?
said the same exact thing that you just
That's
said.
what I was going to say. I thought that was interesting because two of the youngest, most successful people that we've ever done the podcast with, you and him being like, James is what, only 24, 25?
I think he's like 23, bro.
Really? Oh, yeah.
think
No,
he's younger than
James
us.
is our age too, and then
Yeah.
you are as well. And you guys both said the same. So that was my point. The two younger, more successful guys that we've ever had on this podcast, both of you guys said the same exact
We
thing.
should try to connect these guys, bro.
Yeah,
Imagine
no.
what they would do if we put them in the
Crazy.
same room.
But yeah, James DeMullen, for the people watching, is the School of Hard Knocks guy. The guy that will go around and ask very successful entrepreneurs what they do for a living, millionaires, billionaires. He does it all, and he has his own podcast as well. Great guy. But when he said that, I thought like that was kind of like an eye opener for me because I never really considered it that way. Like I was saying to you before, I'm also like me. I'm a guy that I have a lot of interests. So
Right.
like I'm also somebody that wants to do this one day, and then I'm like, and then I get inspired. I want to do this the next day. And you all right over there, kiddo? Oh, you're making yourself warm?
Oh, it's getting cold.
Nah, but yeah, no, I thought that was very interesting. But no, we should connect those two. Why not?
That'd be cool.
James
Yeah.
is a great dude. That's our spot. So like how you have the Florida, that's kind of Texas for us. That's where we're looking at potentially making our play too. And then we still got to run that damn podcast on the PJ when you get that thing
Dude,
too.
we're doing that,
Yeah,
man. I was
got
sitting
to.
down here before we started this shit. Like, yeah, we're gonna do that.
Yeah. And for his pod, it would be like a big upgrade every time. The first set was awesome. The second set, this one even
The
better.
first one
and
we
then-
did in like a jujitsu
Yeah,
school, bro.
yeah, it was a jiu-jitsu school, and
Yeah.
then they were doing like kickboxing outside with the garage open and shit, right?
That's crazy. Yeah, what was it called? It was called
Uh,
something Dragon, right?
Dragon Gym. Yeah,
Ah.
Yeah, shout out to
Dragon.
those guys. Shout out
Yeah.
Dragon Gym.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to get into as well before we start closing this thing up is I want to talk to you about your relationship with God
Yeah.
because I think I'm starting to create more of a faithful relationship in my life. It's a very new thing for me. So I want to know, when did yours begin and what does it look like?
So technically, I guess my relationship with God, began with like as you're born, right? Like, but I was brought up in the Catholic Church. It was very forced, obviously. Like we were forced to go to CCD, forced to go to Sunday Mass, and like I hated it. And that's where like a lot of resentment just came into like I don't want to know about this type of thing.
Same
Yeah.
here, bro. Same
And,
here.
and it's just like so for a number of years when we stopped going to church around 10, 12, up until my kidney transplant, I really did not have your connection is kind of how I would define it. Your relationship with God is like your connection. How often are you speaking with him, feel him,
Yeah.
understand him, or whatever. And everyone's different, man. I could say something that's going to piss off a Catholic that's listening to this.
100%.
So my relationship became very strong when I had a kidney transplant. I was praying to God every single day. And then post-transplant, I was thanking him every single day, and I still do. And then one thing I want to speak on, as a young man, I try, and not all the time, I'll be honest with people, like, I go in waves of my connection with God and like how to live in a godly manner.
Yeah.
So I would say like my relationship with God sways in and out, and not like 100% where I don't believe in it. I've always had a connection. It's like how close am I with him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like in that moment.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the beginning when you start to ease away, is this normal? Like, is this normal? And like I would talk to my other friends that are really involved with the religion, right? So I'm very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
They say, yeah, that's completely normal. And so it's like a swaying thing for me right now in my life where it's like, I really want to live this type of lifestyle, and then like you sway out of it, if that makes any sense.
How does it contribute to the life that you live right now and then conducting the businesses and doing the things that you do? Like, how do those two things relate, can you say?
So how does it conduct in my life today? Everything that's done, you sitting here, you breathing, I believe, obviously God is making that happen. God created the earth, like everything. So, what was the...
What I meant to say was, like, how do you think it relates, your relationship to God relates to, or how does it, I could say, contribute to the things that you're doing in your life, whether it's business, maybe it's the relationships that you have, or some of the projects and endeavors that you're working on or trying to build right now? Do you think, like, do you talk to him? Do you ask him with help in building things? Do you ask him with guidance on how to navigate certain problems? Like, how does it look in relation to the things that you're doing in your life? Does that make sense?
Yes. So, like, at certain points in my life, like post-transplant, when I had some issues, like questions
Health,
whether...
yeah.
Health, but like post-transplant, like business, like you're saying, like, hey, man, hey God, like how can I grow my business to 2 million, like all this kind of stuff. I used to do a lot more of that than I'm doing now. And now I more or less just thank him. Like I don't like ask for things or guidance, which I probably should do a lot more. I'm more or less every time I'm connected or just in a silent room going through my thoughts, it's more or less thanking. But I should ask him more, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Anything else you got on your bucket list besides the PJ? We know about the PJ. Anything else that you got that you might not talk about too much that you really would like to achieve before it's all said and done?
Yeah, we recently started this whole bucket list kind of thing to the idea, and we've been kind of preaching it to our viewers, the people that watch us, that the importance of kind of setting those goals, even if it's like on a note or paper in your mind, whatever it might be, but actually intentionally setting those bucket list items and achieving them.
Yeah, one thing I don't talk about too much is C3G and rare kidney disease. You know, I don't think I'm the person, at least, you know, sitting here right now, that's going to find a cure for rare kidney diseases.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that pretty soon.
That Neff Cure event that you throw yearly, it's yearly, right? It's
Yes,
an annual
sir.
thing you guys do?
Yes, sir.
That was really cool to be a part of. It was really a neat experience to be there with all of your people. And what I thought was also really inspiring was how all of those people engaged with you and how they perceived you. It seemed like you really had a strong presence of leadership in that little community that you have. And everybody was getting together. They were running, all ages, all different types of people. So that was really, really cool, man. And it would be really cool to watch how you continue to develop, you know, like that philanthropic community style thing that's going on in your life that had such an impact on you as well.
Dude, that's a blessing you said that, because
I actually got my shades. The shades that I brought today are from that Neff Cure.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm actually working on actively in my business, is becoming like the best leader I can, right? So you go through these stages of learning sales, marketing, but like one thing I'm really trying to improve on and be the best at is like being a leader.
Yeah.
How can I build other leaders? How can I build up my team? And so the fact that you said that, I appreciate that.
Hell yeah, man.
You're probably normally the youngest guy in the room, I would imagine.
Right.
So that's crazy to even try to consider that. Like, you have to lead, especially with the stuff that you run, you have to lead from the front. And especially a business structure, I would imagine landscaping is even typically older guys, older gentlemen as well.
Yeah.
So like that's typically who you're playing. You got to learn a way to even lead people much older than you.
Correct.
In that field.
You know, and so my whole entire team right now is older than me.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for years, maybe short term, people the same age or similar age. I'm just blessed to be in the position I am, and I want to, like, again, it's on me to be the best leader I can to keep growing everything. And so we're working on like core values, mission statements, and like really attracting our tribe through our core values and our mission statement.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I like that. I know that building businesses and having businesses that are of the size of yours and having real estate portfolios and trying to do all of the things that you're doing, it could probably come with a good amount of pressure.
Yes.
What is a protocol that you have for dealing with that pressure in your life?
This is such an amazing question. Again, something me and Colin were talking about, because other guys are going to need to get ideas or sway stuff, and I'm not a perfect person. And that's the first thing about leadership is like, and I need to communicate this to my team more. Like, I'm the last thing from perfect. I'm going to try every day, and I'm going to do my best to, you know, just like my relationship with God or maybe your religion. But going back to
Pressure.
So, like you said, man, I have a lot of tough days. And so, like, it used to be health-wise. Now it's business issues. And I was at dinner, and this guy, like, last night was saying, like, sometimes it's a death by 1,000 cuts. And so in business and in life, personally or business, like, guys can get bogged down like myself. I'm not bogged down. You see my energy, but, like, it can happen where, like, you name it, brother, can happen. So what I like to do when I've had a tough day is, you run out of it and you're just like, fuck this shit. And so I'll just stop what I'm doing, man. I'll put on Alex Ramosi at the end of the night, or put on some sort of entertaining podcast or whatever, and just forget about it, man. Let me go to bed, and I'm going to wake up. And so far in my life, dude, I've woken up the next day. I have way more energy, and like God probably puts a new thought in my head, and I'm figuring out a solution. Another thing, a mindset that I live and die by. Whenever there's a problem, right? It's almost like there's dozens of them a day, a week. Put that problem like on a leaf that's like on a stream, and that problem just goes right down. That's how you want to think about problems in your head. Because in my life, dude, I've had some of the biggest problems. I needed a fucking kidney. So
yeah,
if you know, if a problem really isn't a problem. There's always a solution to every problem. And so like, if you can just understand that, like, yeah, it might be like if I'm going about my day focused on sales and marketing, and then you get something in the mail where someone wants to sue you, or you get like a test back from our doctors where it's like, oh shit, you got X, Y, like whatever it is, there's a solution to every single problem.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I think that this was awesome. I'm really, really grateful that I know you. I think I'm proud to call you a friend. And it's really cool every time I come down here to hear what you got going on. And it's also very inspiring, man.
Absolutely.
I go back home and I think like, man, I got to be better. I got to, try new things. I got to try to elevate my position a bit more. And I'm grateful that, you're in my life to set that example. And this was awesome, man. I appreciate you sitting down and doing this podcast with us, because there's always some gems, man. There's always some gems from our boy CMG.
Absolutely.
And not only we get, but also the people who watch this can get as well.
Exactly. And it goes back to my like main thing with social media, man. How many people can I help? Like, I just would love to help more people, and vice versa. Like, I love this relationship. I love helping people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it's just, that's why I always say, man, I'm blessed.
Yeah, our paths will continue to cross, my man, and you're going to keep doing great things. We're going to keep doing great things, and hopefully, we're just going to keep racing to the top.
We're going to, high tides raise all ships, man. So it's all about relationships, long term, and like you said, man, you guys can ask me questions whenever, and vice versa, dude. You're around the right people, and it's connections, knowledge, and execution.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Absolutely.
CMG,
Chase
Mainline
Armory, I know,
Chester County.
beautiful place. Shout out who do you know who owns this place?
Yeah, Greg.
Shout out Greg from Mainline Armory. This place is beautiful. It's amazing. I fucking love it here. It's awesome.
We call this the Country Club. So it's the, the vibe of it is like a country club, but you don't come and golf. You come and shoot guns. You can smoke cigars. We had a CMG party here. We had a bartender, a catered event, whole thing. So you can have parties here. You can do a lot of crazy stuff.
Awesome.
The Country Club. That's hilarious. I like that. That's a beautiful place, man. I love it here. Thank you again for showing us this. Coming out here in Chester County is always real. We'll see you in the next one, man. Hopefully, go ahead.
I don't want to end it just yet. Tell us about your guys' goal for this Thanksgiving. You know, just like I have a nonprofit that I do things towards. What is your goal for this Thanksgiving?
Kevin, take them away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I don't know how much we ever told you about the initial idea, the initial plan when we started this roughly 2 years back. This is our third year annually doing this. The first year, he actually just brought this up again to me recently. I thought it was very interesting. He and one of our friends, Anthony, went on a nice long walk. They were talking about things and ways that we could utilize this platform that we have to give back to the community. I guess they came up with the idea of initially just feeding 100 people on Thanksgiving. He brought the idea to me, and I'm also very emotionally attached to that type of stuff too, especially from the city that we're from, and me working at local schools in the area and seeing like the poverty levels, or like the levels that, you know what I'm getting at. So when he brought that idea to me, I was like, yeah, absolutely, we could do that. And easily we could do that. I know with our following and our audience and the people that support us, we were easily going to be able to do that. So that's what we did. They crushed it the first year. We raised, I think our goal was $1,000. We hit $1,500, so we overshot it, and then fed all those people. We fed 100 year one. Year two, same thing. We were going to double it for 200. But our viewership had grown, and same thing. They blew it out the water yet again. So I think our goal was, what was it initially? $2,000 for 200. We got all the way to 3,500. So then we raised it to 300 people. And then this year, same mentality, same mindset. We're doubling it yet again to feed 600. And hopefully if we feed all 600 people this year, we will then be at 1,000 people meals fed over the last 3 years.
And our goal is to feed 1 million people.
Yeah, at one time. Yeah. So every year, it compounds, it doubles. Next year, we'll be doing 1,200, double it every year, to hopefully feed 1 million people in one day, sometime.
Yep,
Who
that's
knows?
the idea, man.
I love that. So how do you guys go about this? So, like, are you guys cooking this food and handing out meals?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually,
FitAF let us use the kitchen last year. So we used their kitchen. They had like 8 ovens. We threw a bunch of turkeys in there just on repeat. And we cooked it all up, packaged it in little meals, and then we met people where they were and just gave them a home-cooked Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah. We normally do it right from, are you familiar with Wilkes-Barre? Have you ever been down to Wilkes-Barre?
I have. So my family is kind of from there.
Yeah.
My mom, but I don't vividly remember it, but I have been throughout Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton, all that.
I was just telling him, actually, there was one day we were actually filming another podcast, and I was like, yo, I swear I just saw Chase. You were like right outside where we were in a white Corvette, and it looked a kid that looked exactly like you. It was insane.
Where were you guys filming?
We film how can I explain it without like
what pod was this?
Giving everything away? I don't know. It was recent. It was like it might have been Will Ramey that we did like maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
Were you in Wilkes-Barre 3-4 weeks ago?
Over the summer though, spring I was, but like No.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know. But I mean, either way, to keep it brief, there was like 2 schools. It's a more residential area. Not a lot of businesses like that out there. It was just like a street with like a lot of houses, couple schools. That's about it. But I thought that was interesting. And then what was your question? You asked me something prior to me bringing that up. What was it? I forget.
I asked how do you guys are like how you distributing this food?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know. People love to hear the details. Like, like are you just buying frozen turkeys and giving a turkey to someone? But you guys are like, and that's like just hearing that, it astonishes me because you both have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
You guys are investing and supporting this podcast through your jobs, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like you guys are doing a lot. I think you guys are doing a lot of good and just like putting a lot into it. And so one thing I did want to point out too, because a lot of people, like I was telling Colin, pick one thing and fucking go at it, right? Like especially in business, I'm get to the break even point, then profit. Maybe this is more of a non-profit interest for you guys. But one thing you guys have is consistency. You guys are very committed.
Yeah.
Not many people have this setup.
Yeah.
Like you guys, so it's very impressive. You guys are committed people.
Yeah, thank you, man. I know he was telling me a lot about the conversation that you guys had prior to the one that I wasn't involved in. And for this, I guess I'll say my truth of the matter for this podcast and the YouTube and the content creation, I could just say in general. And I really do like to know your thoughts on what you think about this as well as an entrepreneur. But I consider this for me as truthfully, this is my long-term vision. Like this is something that I want to do for a very long time. So I'm not going to say that I'm uninterested in making money doing it right now because that's absolutely not the case. But I have the philosophy, at least from my knowledge of this game and a lot of the people that I've met along the lines, helping me realize that the money in a craft or business like this will come. It's just about, like you're saying, the consistency and what you're willing to do to make that your reality. Yes. So it's like, this is truthfully for me in my experience, this is a hard game you're not going to get rich quick doing what we do. It's not going to happen. But I think you could, and I know he was asking a lot of questions leading towards these type of answers, but you can do things in these current frames and keeping the main thing that help you make money. That's what we need to try to figure out. Truthfully, I'm just telling you my truth. So.
No, I love that. And listen, if you guys have any questions about monetizing at something and, I'm here to help you too. And I just want to point that out, man. You guys are consistent. Not many people our age have that. So that's a skill set that you two both have.
Yeah.
And like you just said, man, if you never quit, you will achieve your goal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As cringy as it sounds, dude, it's very much the truth. And I have those thoughts on a daily basis.
Yeah. I know, like, within myself, I'm not good enough right now. So I know that there is many ways in which he and I'll speak for both of us. We need to get better in a lot of ways.
Right.
So it's like the amount of time it took us to get from, the first day clicking record to now. I mean, I've learned so much shit about not only this game, but about myself. I mean, I'm still growing as an individual and as a man. So it's like I still have to learn all of that too. That's this whole own other game. But
like monetizing the channel.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting into too. But like with this, it could be as simple as like just like little research behind things you need to do to get better, like video wise. Like that's its whole game. Videography is its whole own game. Audio is its whole own game. And like even editing styles and different types of content you want to make. I guess to sum up my long story is there's like every day it's a new task with a new solution that you have to figure out. And it seems like almost nothing is universal in our game. So it's like you just have to learn so much, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Dude, I know. So people, like when you start a new business, that's what it's like, man. So when you buy real estate investments, that's what it's like. Start social media, want to build a brand. Everything's new. And so you're like, but that's good that you're in a position where you're always learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we got to get you guys monetizing this. And again, that's my mindset.
Yeah.
But you two, it might be different.
Yeah.
No, I hear you 100%. No, I hear you 100%. Like finding a way to make money with this thing, for sure.
And like if you have that mentality, brother, like you just said a minute ago, it's gonna at some point, dude, it's going to hit that shit. You guys might be like the Joe Rogan boys or something. Like I'm just giving an analogy.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying?
That's what we're aiming for. And I will say too, like our goal for this thing, like we want the 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Like we want the potential Spotify deal. And like we want to do all that stuff in like I guess you could say have a very successful podcast. That's definitely a goal of ours. Absolutely. But it's just about finding the way to get to that position. For us in this moment, it seems like we're in this valley and then like we're looking up at the peak, and that's kind of what I'm getting at is like, and I'm sure that's a universal feeling for a lot of people. But we're still in it's like we're climbing the mountain right now, very slowly. That's what it feels like, I guess you could say. With everything that we're learning and everything we're trying to do and get done, just finding the way to monetize this thing, I think would be awesome. Because this is what we put probably the most of our man hours into. The full-time job is like, that's only a portion of my day. It's not,
right?
It's nothing compared to like the work that goes into this, but I make a lot more money doing that.
Right.
So it's interesting. My goal is to get out of that though. I don't want to do that forever.
Right.
And like really mainly only like another year is my goal for the inevitable move, hopefully to Austin, Texas.
What's the vibe? How you setting that up?
To go to Austin, Texas?
Yes, sir.
So right now, honestly, it's kind of up in the whim. We don't necessarily have a crazy game plan for doing it, but I know there's a couple moving pieces to it. So we plan on going down there with a few people, like our main team that does the podcast. So everybody kind of has their own problems, you know what I'm saying? And he has a deal that he wants to try to make done before we go in terms of the real estate game. Yeah. I don't know how much he told you about that, but that's part of his life scenario. And then for a lot of the rest of us, it's just getting our financial situation more better than I guess you could say it has been the last few months. Outside of that, I think it's just finding a place and making it happen. We have friends out there already too, so we have friends that already live there.
And like when you move to a new city like that, like Austin's a perfect city for you guys.
Yeah.
Like it's all about who you're around and talking to, the energy. So like if I could give anything, dude, is fucking do it.
Yeah.
Man. Like have that run time like you talked about, whether it's 3-5 months. Obviously you move out there, maybe you got to find a new job to start.
Yeah.
But like start getting around. And you guys are so like a collected, you're like a gang. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like that means a lot. There's a lot of value in that.
I know you never really experienced this, or maybe I don't necessarily know this, but I also think that there's a certain comfort or temptation that comes with carrying out your entrepreneur ventures in your hometown. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I also think like every time I travel and every time I'm like out, all I'm thinking about is like working in the grind. And I can really, like we were talking about, lock in. We've been to Texas numerous times in the last 2 years, and every time we go there, we're doing pods with some of the coolest people we've ever talked to. And all day long, like, yeah, we're having fun, but it's just thinking about the next thing we could be doing or the next person out here we could talk to or how we can make this work. And it's like, it seems like when we go there, the podcast makes so much more sense. And we've done some really cool episodes out there. I don't know. It just seems like for podcasters, that's the place to be right now.
That's a sign, man. That's like a real deal sign.
Yeah.
Get around the most, like I tell entrepreneurs, man, get around, like I want to live in New York City. Yeah. Not because there's any fucking landscaping there, barely any, but like the people that I'm next to, I don't know the person, right? Yeah. But I'm going to. I'm going to be sitting next to the person at the sign, at the steakhouse, at the bar. Like, those are the most, and again, I guess I'm more money driven, not because of the evilness of money, but I guess the power and things. I want to live in New York City because the most highest, income earners, they're doing the most. Yeah. Just like you guys, man. Go to Austin, fucking film the pods, go be James' best friend.
Yeah. And then like we're making those connections. I thought it was a funny story too, because it happened to us like day one that we were in Austin. But how we were talking about is like you can go out and like where we're from, you can go out to like a restaurant or wherever you're going to hang out, and you meet somebody cool, you start talking about them or what they do, and they're like, oh, like I work at Target or something like that. It's like with most people, and not to knock that. That's not what I'm trying to say. Right. But we went to a we went to a cigar lounge in Austin. So maybe it had to do with that location too. It seems like more successful people tend to come to cigar lounges. But I sat down at a chessboard and some random guy, the first like Austin native, I guess you could say, that I talked to the last time we were there, came up and was like, hey, do you know how to play? And we were like, yeah, let's play. We sat down, played some chess. Come to find out this guy owns a hedge fund. Right. And it's just like, my point being is, in Austin,
interview that motherfucker.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So you go out there and you surround yourself around those type of people, and I really do think that has some type of effect or force or influence on people like him, people like me, people like you. Like, just when you get around these really cool guys, I don't know, for me it really inspires me, and I like that.
Like, one thing, I watched this podcast called All In Podcast. Yeah. It's like there's 4 guys total, but 2 of them are like multi-billionaires. Yeah. And you hear these guys talk over an hour or two, and it's like, these people are just like me, dude. Yeah. So I'm addicted to that because it gives me that confidence that Chase Gallagher can do whatever they did. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's the same thing you guys are doing. But same thing, I was in New York City this past summer, went to the cigar lounge. It costed me $200 just to get into the cigar lounge for the day. Then you had to buy your $100 cigar and all this shit. And I'm like, hopefully this is worth it. and then I met this guy in there, like some older dude, like, he sounded like a fucking cowboy. I thought he was like some country singer or some shit. long story short, he's from Tampa, and he has like this $15 million plumbing business. And like, so we spent like a couple hours in this thing, like chit-chat about business, about real estate. And like, I asked him questions that I was like, it was kind of like a lead on question where it's like, hey man, if you were to redo everything, what would you do? And I'm like kind of hoping he would say XYZ, like which was my prediction.
Yeah.
And he kind of like said the same thing. So like just being around those people, getting that vibe. And now like I have his number and he's like, yo, anytime you're in Tampa, hit me up. Like, so it's like connections and stuff. So like make the fucking move.
What's your philosophy with that? Like, do you like to go to locations like this? And because I think I mentioned that to Darren when we got in here. I was like, I don't like, my mingling skill isn't great. Just truthfully, I'm just being honest. Like when I come out to places like this and like you got a group of guys over there sitting down, obviously they do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not normally the type of guy that just like I throw myself into their mix. I kind of just, stay off to what I was doing. But I was like, man, like Chase just over there mingling with those guys. I thought it was pretty cool. So my point in bringing that up was like, do you typically do things like that when you're networking, or do you have like people that will reach out to you via email, like your socials, or like how do you typically go about networking?
It's all the above. It's showing up to the cigar lounge. Like you might show up to 15 of them and not hit. You know what I'm saying? Like but like I do mingle, and that's a skill, man. Like I had to learn how to mingle and bump shoulders and be like, yo, what's up, or whatever the vibe is. But I used to go to networking events. What I've come to realize is when you build relationships, whether it's monetary value to me or knowledge value or connection value, good things come from knowing more people. And so like I live and die by that. Like it's crazy. And then it's like the compound effect happens with this, because it's like, the hedge fund guy that your buddy's with, and like he might connect you with the fucking Spotify guy that writes deals for podcasts. Like, or I'm at dinner and it's this president of this, XYZ company, and he might need some money for an investment, and like now I'm investing next to billionaires on this, so like networking is a huge thing of mine. It does not provide me instant money, which I don't want. I want real relationships, because I know good things will happen from it, and that's boiled down. That's what I focus on, man. Just like literally, I go on Instagram and I show up with a smile, and people are like, who is this goofball on Instagram saying this bullshit? And it's literally, that's what I do. I love doing that.
Yeah, James Mullen said that people will take you much further than money ever will. I think he had a quote. It was like, the amount of money that you make equals the hands you shake, or something like that.
What's Carson's philosophy with that too? He always says something along those parameters. What he was just saying too.
He said
like
contacts equal contract. That's Carson's thing.
Dude, it's so true. Your network is your net worth. We've heard it a million times. And it might not be like 100% of the time. It might not be that vibe, but if you keep on at that mingling skill and bumping shoulders, saying what's up, man, your network is so powerful. It solves a lot of problems.
Bare minimum, that's just a good thing to have for everybody, especially 100%. The people that do what we do.
There's value to knowing a lot of people, man, especially in a business entrepreneur environment like I am in. When I am at the cigar lounge and all of a sudden I'm sitting in your seat and I didn't realize it was men's cigar night, and like these guys just start sitting around me, and one's an M&A lawyer and one's a financial advisor, and this guy owns these businesses. Like, you just try to put yourself in the right environment all the time.
Yeah, because think about the opposite of that, like being in the wrong environment and how that might affect you. I mean, that's quite obvious. That's
right? Like you could actually, like, that's tangible. You could really see that, and that's a reality. But the other one, like the side of the fence that Chase was coming from, that you don't typically hear talked about, or you don't really see people reference in that area of, I guess, networking. But what you were just saying, I mean, you can go to the bar every weekend and be around the same people that are doing the same thing, and that rubs off on you. So why can't the other? Yeah,
wealth rubs off, eh?
Dude, wealth rubs off, brother. Like, it might not be instant. It's gonna like be months or years, but and guys, like, think about it like this: we're in our 20s, man. The relationships we build today are gonna be a lifetime if you do it right.
Yeah.
And there's so much value in it, like money or not, money, connections, knowledge, whatever it is. I just like knowing more people, man, and like talk about. Like, I go to New York City and hang out because I don't – obviously, I have my people there, but I'm trying to get to know more and more people. Like, I spend thousands of dollars in a city like New York City a couple times a year, like, just for the potential to meet someone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Calculated risk.
Calculated risk, man.
Yeah. Chase, you're the man, bro. I appreciate you sitting down doing this podcast. I know we'll do one again in the future. I know that you're going to continue to do great things.
Oh, yeah.
We're all going to do great things. So tap into this podcast. Get the gems, get the nuggets, because it's all there. Chase, can you drop your socials really quick so people can follow you, people know where they can find you?
Yeah, guys, you can hit me up on Instagram at Chase_Gallagher. You can check out my landscaping company, CMG_landscape. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. If I DM you asking for Bitcoin money, it's not me. I'm on all of it. I was about to joke around and say OnlyFans, but I'm not there yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
Are you on school? Do you mess around with school at all?
No, bro.
No?
It's one of those things. Again, it's like just another thing. I'm not with it.
Yeah, not here.
Not with it?
We'll be on OnlyFans soon, ladies and gents, maybe if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thank you again for watching another episode of the Go Getters podcast. Chase has been fucking real, my friend. Hopefully the next time we do it, hey, either we're both still grinding and giving it everything we got, or we're in that PJ. So we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way, we'll be all right. But I
Think
enjoyed
you
it.
could do a pod in the air?
Huh?
Think you could do a pod in the air?
Fuck yeah.
You can, but you got to be careful of the mics, dude. The engines are so loud. Like, I have a couple of videos of me in the jet.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure, like, so if we do that, you guys got to do some research and make sure we got, like,
Make sure it's perfect.
fucking shit that works on a jet.
Is there a particular jet that you want to get?
Yes, sir. It's called, like, my first one I want is like a light jet. Like ideally I get a light XL. So there's a jet that I've been on called a Citation XL, and so it fits like 7 or 8 people. Has the high ceilings. You can go from Philly to Chicago in like an hour, and it's big enough to go over to Europe if you hopped on a couple Canada to Greenland. That's the one I would like, but a CJ2 would be great. A beach jet. I've been on those. Those are about $1 million. They're older. Citation XL, man. I want a light fucking jet.
Isn't the storage of the jet a big aspect of owning one, like being able to put them in the hangar, park them, fuel them, stuff like that?
It is a thing, but like that's like minimal compared to like a CJ2. Let's say it's about $2 million.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of debt on it. It's gonna run you about $30K a month with a pilot, and let's say you're calculated about 100 to 120 hours of flight time a year. What happens, and this is why a lot of guys do the jet card, is if Chase owns a jet and I go to Tampa and I'm gonna be down there for a week. All right, well, how much does it cost me to store my jet in someone else's airport per day? Then my pilot, and if you get anything bigger than a CJ2 or a light jet, then you need 2 pilots, and so then you got two, $150,000 salaries.
Yeah.
Then you got 2 hotel rooms. So that's why a lot of guys, they do the math. It's like, all right, I'll get a jet card first, because then you're only paying from Wheels Up in Chester County to Tampa, and you're done.
Beautiful. You don't got to worry about all the additional shit. And weren't you talking about the last time we were talking about this too, doing something with the jet, like kind of like Uber, I guess is the best way to put it, where you just kind of rent or outsource your jet to other people that want to use it too?
Yes, most likely my first jet, it will definitely be like I rent it out to other people. Now you need a certain certificate, a charter certificate, in order to do that. So for safety reasons, so that costs a lot of money just to get that, and then it costs a lot of money to maintain that. And so it would be like a business.
Gotcha.
And all my jet thing is all business. But I would definitely rent that thing out as much as I can. So like things I'm doing now is becoming friends with jet brokers. Like
that works, son. Seems like it all keeps coming back to the same focal point.
Cool, man.
Well,
again, thank you, bro.
Again, it's been real. People, thank you for watching. We're going to go have some fun. Keep enjoying the rest of this beautiful Sunday here in Chester County. Love you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
Let's go. Peace.